right, back for my favorite thing of the week, which is this Q&A. So keep submitting questions. I will keep making these videos. My opinion is just my opinion. I certainly have times that I have strong opinions, and there are times that I'm going to ask you for feedback. In fact, one of the questions today, I don't really have a good answer for, but it's a question I've been asked quite a bit. And so I'm asking you to kind of give me some input and share with all of us a good answer for it, because I don't really have one. So please be sure to comment for me on your opinion of that. But I really look forward to the questions and seeing what you all are interested in and giving my take on them back. We've got a lot of good stuff in this particular episode about ways to invest, specific cards and areas to invest, some sets in particular, and whether or not this is considered part of our whole net worth, or is just this something that doesn't have a lot of value monetarily, and it's all about, the emotional enjoyment of being a collector. So check it out, leave a comment. Most importantly, ask me a question that you have that I could respond to next week. But let's take a look at question number 1 right now. I would like to start building a good vintage collection of Hall of Famers from the 40s and 50s. What are 5 of the best value vintage cards from that era that you would buy on a budget? $100 to $200, but up to $400. All right, so this is a really fun question, but it's a really difficult question. It really depends on what you like. I will continue to say, as a collector, you should be buying what you like. And so if there are cards that you see and you say, I think that's a cool card, then those are the cards that I would recommend that somebody buys. Now, generically speaking, what do I think is a good deal in that price range? Well, there's a few things in it, and not included in the comment there, but was also mentioned, is that you said you collect a lot of rookie cards generally from the 40s and 50s. So my initial instinct would be to go to the 48 Bowman set. But the 48 Bowman set has a ton of rookie cards. So you probably already have those. So then you go to the 49 Bowman. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the 49 Bowmans. The 48s are black and white. The 49s have kind of some color, but it's kind of weird color. So personally, I'm not a big fan of those. 50 and 51 Bowman, however, are full color and really cool cards. And I'm going to even expand that a little bit and say 50, 51, 52, 54 Bowmans I like, 53 color Bowmans I like a lot. And I think those are very overlooked. So if we're talking about value, which was the question, where is their value in the 40s and 50s for Hall of Famers? I really think those 4 to 5 sets. So some cards that jump out at me of Hall of Famers. In 50, there's a cool Duke Snider, a really cool Warren Spahn, a great Yogi Berra. There's a Ralph Kiner that I like a lot. Those would be some of the ones from the 50 set. The 51 set, I think there's an awesome Roy Campanella card. The Snyder and the Spahn are very similar to they're the same picture as they are in 50. But then also 50 and 51, there's a cool Richie Ashburn card, and there's a cool Robin Roberts card that I would suggest as Hall of Famers. And recently I bought the 51 Phil Rizzuto, and I like that card a lot, obviously. If you go to the 52 set, there's a really cool Yogi Berra that's somewhat affordable. And the other card in the 52 set I really, really like, but it is pricey, is the Stan Musial, 52 Bowman Stan Musial. But if you want one in much of a decent condition at all, it's going to get expensive. The 53 Bowman color set is a really cool set. I would say in that set, I really like the Whitey Ford card. I really like the Stan Musial of the 53 Bowman Color card. Another card that jumps out to me in the 53 Bowman Colors, there's a cool Monty Irvin card. In 54 Bowman, I would say I think there's a cool Larry Doby. There's another cool Whitey Ford. I was looking at one at a recent card show video that I took a good look at. That's somewhat affordable as well in the price range that you're talking. Another one I forgot from the 1950 and 51 Bowman set would be the Larry Doby there. I bought those. I bought the 50 Bowman Larry Doby at a card show at the start of the year. I think that that video was titled my first card show of 2023 or something. But those would probably be the cards. I think that Bowman is a really good value right now. I think specifically the 1950 to 54 Bowmans are good value. The 52 tops is pretty unaffordable. The 53 tops has gotten fairly unaffordable. The only other couple of tops cards I'd throw out there that I think are good value is the second year Ernie Banks, 1955 tops Ernie Banks is a cool card and very reasonably priced compared to his rookie card. And then same with the Al Kaline 55 Al Kaline second year is a really reasonably priced card too. So those would be the ones that I would probably target. I think that there's value there. I think they're cool cards. So again, if there's something that somebody else thinks I'm missing, leave a comment and tell me what are tell us, all of us, what you think would be a good value pickup in the 40s and early 50s. Would like to know if and how you inventory or track your collection. Now, this is an interesting question that I've had asked of me several times. And, I don't really have a great answer. I've talked to quite a few people who upload their cards and grades into a variety of different apps and websites, and then it tracks the value as the values change. It tracks the total collection value. I know some people inventory their collection because they, have their entire set or their collection in a PSA registry. For me personally, I've never done that. Now, my collection isn't huge. I have a lot of cards that I like and that are meaningful to me, and I look through them and I go to the cases and the containers that I hold them and I look through them. But I don't have like one digital location that I have all my cards listed where I can track their value and have them inventoried. I've thought about doing some of these sorts of things. I actually, have created quite a few databases in Microsoft Access. I've thought about databasing my collection, but why do that when nowadays there are so many websites and programs that do it for you? So, generally I like to have answers, but I think this is a great opportunity to ask everybody watching, what do you recommend? Because I don't really have a good recommendation, and I don't always have the answer or a good answer to a question. So this is a time I'm going to call on everyone else out there. If you could leave a comment, tell us what program or app do you use for inventorying and tracking your collection that you think others would like as well. Tell us what it is and tell us the pros and cons about that program. And if you're doing that, and if we could kind of share some ideas, I think that would be great. Again, I don't even want to pretend like I have the answer to everything. And there is a lot that I can be learning from each of you out there. And this is a great opportunity where as a community, we can kind of share some ideas and some suggestions on a great place to do this because I don't have a very good answer. So again, please leave a comment below if you're using a program. Tell us what it is. Tell us if there's a cost involved, and tell us the pros and cons of that particular program. What are your thoughts on the 1975 Topps baseball set or 75 Topps minis? Do you think it's a good investment? Do you think the price will continue to appreciate in value? All right, so the 1975 set, I think, is a great set for a lot of reasons. Number one, there are several really cool rookie cards in it, obviously headlined by the George Brett and the Robin Yount rookies. But there are others as well. And there are a lot of players at the tail end of their career, like, Hank Aaron has a card in there. There's a really cool Nolan Ryan, right, kind of early in his career. There's a lot of big-time players. I love the Thurman Munson card that year. And it's a tough set. Now, a lot of the sets from the 70s are, a standard kind of white border, and as a result, they're kind of easy to still find in decent condition. But if you have 75 cards in good condition, there aren't a ton of them. And so I do think if you have high end of those cards, there is some upside to them. I did a video that I released last week that was going through the 1970s specifically and how I think they're a great value. I mean, a Robin Yount rookie card, for what you can buy a nice Robin Yount rookie card, is unbelievably low. So I really think there's a lot of upside in all of the 1970s. And if you haven't checked that video out, check that one out. But in addition to all of them, I think the 75 set would be one of the better ones. Now, if we're looking specifically at the minis, now the 75 set had this mini set where, if you're not familiar, you could buy a full-size normal version of the card, but there were also the cards where there was a smaller size that you could buy as well. And when I was growing up, the minis were more expensive than the full-size cards because they were so much rarer. They were thought of as more desirable and more expensive, but it seems like more recently the minis have lost favor to the full-sized ones, and the minis are actually less expensive now, and in some cases quite a bit less expensive. So the question then becomes, well, is it smart to target the minis because the supply of those is lower, and if the demand returns for them, then those could end up having more upside? And I would say, yeah, maybe. But again, I would only buy the minis if you like the minis, because I'll never suggest that anybody buy something that they don't already like. So yeah, personally, to answer your question, to summarize, I think all sets and cards from the 1970s are undervalued right now. I think the 75 set in particular is a great one to target because the condition is so difficult. So if you can still buy them in high grades at an affordable price, I think they're a great buy. I think that the players from those sets are considered vintage by a lot of the junk wax collectors that have re-entered the hobby and are going to be looking to buy cards of the legendary players from their childhood. So I think there's a lot of upside to the 75 set, but I wouldn't buy it unless you really like the 75 set and are buying it as a collector. If you're buying it just as an investor, again, that's not really my forte, is to look at things strictly through the eyes of an investor. But yeah, I think that there's upside to it there. I think the minis might have some good potential, but again, I don't know what the demand is. I don't know why people went away from the minis. I don't know why they would go back to the minis. So long story short, yeah, I really like the 75 set. I really like the rookie cards from that set. I really like some of the other Hall of Fame and star cards from that set, and buying nice ones, even raw, in good condition, could be a good buy. Do you think the Baseball Hall of Fame is political or player favorite to get a player into the Hall? Guys like Thurman Munson, Don Mattingly, and Lou Whitaker are not in the Hall yet. They had some outstanding careers. Boy, this is a really tough question. I think it's a really good question, but it's a tough question, and it does have something to do with cards because, as we know, when guys make the Hall of Fame, the demand for their cards goes up because a lot of people collect Hall of Fame player cards. So first, has it gotten political? I think that the Hall of Fame has kind of always been political. I think who gets votes and who doesn't get votes doesn't always make sense to me. You know, they say, hey, I think we shouldn't have players from the steroid era in there if they were ever associated with steroids, but then we have people who were associated with PEDs who are in the Hall of Fame. And you're saying, well, what do you mean there? There are people who have been associated with PEDs who have been elected. There are others who haven't been elected because they've been associated. Now, I'm a Clemens fan. I'm a Bonds fan. I personally think both belong in the Hall of Fame. Some people think I'm crazy for thinking that, and that's okay. But again, this is my opinion. And my opinion is if you were associated with those things and you were a Hall of Famer before the association, had your career ended instead of continuing and had the association, you would have been in the Hall of Fame. My opinion is you should still be in the Hall of Fame. I think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. That's my opinion. The Hall of Fame, to me, should be about the best players. If we're going about people who were likable, well, we got a lot of unlikable people that are in the Hall of Fame, and I don't know why we're picking and choosing who committed an offense that is allowed and who committed an offense that isn't allowed. Is it on the field or is it off the field? And why are some off the field things allowed and some off the field things not allowed? And, you know, how come we have guys who have, you know, spitball stuff in there, and we have guys who did greenies in there, and we have guys who used other substances not in there? I don't really understand. Here's what I tend to see. If you make the Hall of Fame, it's because you have either an abundance of career statistics that meet certain levels, 3,000 hits, 500 home runs. Most of the 400 Hall of Homer people are in there now. You know, a high career average, a certain number of wins like 300, 3,000 strikeouts. Those are kind of numbers that tend to get you into the Hall of Fame. When you have somebody whose career is cut short because of injury, like Mattingly, or an early premature death, like Thurman Munson, they don't tend to like to say, well, had they stayed healthy, then they would have reached these numbers, so they deserve to get in. And I don't get a vote. Personally, if you have a shortened career, but your shortened career is dominant, you know, Sandy Koufax had a fairly short career, but he was dominant when he played. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer. If you had an outstanding career while you were playing, and for something not your fault, causing that to be shortened, I think it should extrapolate to what would they have done, or hold them to a different sort of threshold. Some people think there are a lot of Hall of Famers that shouldn't be Hall of Famers. You know, I've heard a lot of people in comments recently on just my channel talk about Jim Rice. Why is Jim Rice in the Hall of Fame? Again, I'm not a voter. We all have opinions on it. I think Mattingly and and Thurman Munson should probably be in. Lou Whitaker was a good player. I mean, he was a great Tiger. I don't think his numbers, or I don't know, but he had, didn't he have several Silver Slugger awards, which says a lot about how dominant a player was. So I don't know. It definitely feels political. It definitely feels like, there's an axe to grind at times, and a likability factor plays a big role. So I don't really know if I answered your question, and I don't know if anybody even cares what my opinion is on what is worthy or unworthy of being in the Hall of Fame. But I will say, the strong statement I will say is I absolutely think we currently have people in the Hall of Fame that used performance-enhancing drugs. And if that's the case, I don't know why we have other people who have lengthy careers of being dominant before or after performance-enhancing drug association preventing them from getting in. And I know I'm going to hit a tidal wave of people telling me why I'm wrong, and that's fine. Please just do it nicely. So that's my answer. Well, you have previously said you consider yourself a collector rather than an investor. Do you still give your collection a value in dollars? And do you consider it a part of your overall net worth? It's a great question. Do I consider it part of my net worth? I think you have to consider it part of your net worth, because anything that we have, any asset that we have, is considered part of our net worth. Would I consider it an investment? No, I wouldn't consider it an investment for me. So every month since I was 22 years old, I've been putting money into a 401k. I've been putting money into a Roth IRA. I invest based on my retirement plans and based on what I want my retirement to be like. And I have strong opinions about that. And I think people should be investing in a lot of traditional things, whether it be the stock market, mutual funds or ETFs or whatever it is. I do think you should all be investing for retirement. And I think the sooner people start, the better. And I think you should do it continually and not pay that close attention to what its value is. For me, collecting cards is fun. It's a hobby. It would be like somebody who's a gamer buying a new game. It would be like somebody who's a big fan of a sports team buying a ticket to go to a game. I don't look at any card that I buy as part of my investment portfolio, because it's not. It is just for fun. It is just for me having something that I like. It's like a person who collects paintings. It's like a person who buys wine. It's like a person who, is an avid golfer and is out buying new golf clubs. I buy cards that I like, that give me a good feeling when I'm looking at them, that I really enjoy having. But I don't look at them. In an investment in any way. I just don't. And I don't think it's wrong to do that, but it's not something I would encourage people to do, is to use sports cards as an investment. If the cards that I buy and I like as a collector go up in value, that's just a bonus. That's just, awesome. They went up too. That's even great. That's even better. And if I pass them down to my kids, or I end up selling them later in life to help pay for some other thing, then that's awesome. But yes, I think it's part of a person's net worth, just like a car is a part of a person's net worth. But I don't think it's part of my investment portfolio. I don't look at it as something that I would ever rely on. And one of the reasons for that is, as soon as I start charting the value too closely, like one of the previous questions, if I'm charting the value too closely, if I'm considering it as part of my net worth or my investment portfolio, then a lot of the fun gets taken out of it. Then to me, it becomes a little bit stressful. Then to me, it's like, oh no, it's starting to go down. What am I going to do to solidify this investment or solidify this part of my portfolio? So I want it to be fun. Number one, number two, and number three reason I collect is fun. That is the overwhelming reason. And as soon as I start attaching values to it that I'm tracking closely and actually using it as some sort of calibration as to where I'm at in life financially, then it becomes somewhat stressful. So no, I don't track it very closely. I don't consider it part of my investment. But yeah, I mean, everything that I have, I would say, is part of my total net worth. But it's not one that I really have much concern about at all.